On the day before our beloved Holy Father Pope Francis passed on, it was Easter Sunday, and he delivered his last Easter message to the Universal Church. He started his Easter message by greeting the people in Italian, Buona Pasqua a tutti, in English, Happy Easter to all of you. And I would like to echo the Easter greeting of our beloved Holy Father Pope Francis by greeting all of you, Happy Easter, everyone. Would you kindly greet each one here present, Happy Easter. Thank you. And I think you are making Pope Francis happy that way. Because the timing of the death of our beloved Holy Father Pope Francis is beautiful. It is Easter Monday. I think he meant to proclaim to us, like St. Augustine did, that we are an Easter people and our song is Alleluia. Would you kindly repeat that to yourself? We are an Easter people and our song is Alleluia. Alleluia. I want to make it clear that this is not a Requiem Mass, because the Catholic Church does not celebrate Requiem Masses during the Easter octave. Rather, this is the liturgical celebration for Easter Tuesday. Octave of Easter, the readings are Easter readings, and the prayers are Easter prayers, but we offer it for the eternal repose of our beloved Holy Father, Pope Francis. We are not supposed to be rejoicing alone, because the whole church is grieving. Pope Francis himself said in that final Easter message to the Universal Church, today at last, the singing of the Alleluia is heard once more in the church. If you remember, he got sick during the whole duration of the Lenten season. Maybe he really missed Alleluia. So he said the singing of the Alleluia is heard once more in the church, passing from mouth to mouth, from heart to heart. And this makes the people of God throughout the world shed tears of joy. Tears of joy. And that is what I've decided to entitle this homily, Tears of Joy. You know that in the Philippines, many of our people shed tears of joy when they join the traditional ritual of the Salubong. Because for Filipinos, Easter is Salubong. We usually fix our gaze on the image of the Blessed Mother, because we ritualize Easter with the encounter of the Blessed Mother and the resurrected Christ. And during that moment of the encounter, we fix our gaze on the image of the Blessed Mother, whose face is covered by a black veil. The black veil of the sorrowful mother is very symbolic. And all of us, we await the descent of the angel. And then we let out a collective gasp as that nervous little child, dressed as an angel, is suspended in mid-air struggling to reach and to grab the black veil. Because aside from singing the Regina Coeli, that is her only task, to grab the black veil. But the moment the angel child succeeds and pulls up the veil and flies away with it, then the face of the greedy mother could now behold the face of her risen son. And it is then that we usually burst in thunderous applause, and strangely our eyes are welling up with tears. The Kalookan, the removal of the black veil, is usually a joyful encounter that brings tears to the eyes of people. I can only wonder what sort of black veils are covering their lives. Now at that very moment, they are also praying for the angel to descend and remove the darkness in their lives. And so, we ask ourselves, okay lang ba? Is it okay to weep when we should be rejoicing? Is it okay to weep when we should be rejoicing? We can relate very well with today's gospel reading about Mary Magdalene weeping. Did you notice 4 times she was described weeping? And she was weeping after she discovered an empty tomb. And take note how Mary Magdalene is made to answer the same question 2 times. Why are you weeping? Bakit ka tumatangis? Why are you weeping? And first, well, in answer to the angel. The second is in answer to the risen Jesus himself. The message seems clear. Weep if you must. But we have to be able to say why. Why we are weeping. Today, you may be ready to answer the question, why? Why are you weeping? Mary Magdalene had to account for her grief and her sense of desolation. And her answer to the question of the angel, as well as to the question of Jesus, was this: why? Because they have taken away my Lord, and we do not know now where to find him. There are simply too many situations in life when we find ourselves expressing the same lament as Mary Magdalene. Times when God seems to have been taken away from us. The Europeans call it the death of God, the absence of God. And believe me, even Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta lamented in her spiritual journals how in most of her prayers, take note, we regarded her as a living saint, and yet in most of her prayers, what she felt was a deep, deep vacuum, not a consoling presence, but the unbearable desolation of God's apparent absence. They have taken away my Lord. I do not know now where to find them. But how indeed can we feel the presence of God in situations where indifference prevails, where the innate dignity of our humanity is eclipsed by cruelty and apathy, when the thousands or even millions of victims lying on the waysides of modern societies and civilizations continue to wait for the good Samaritan who might pass by. And Pope Francis used to call attention to them in his Angelus messages. And he also had monthly prayer intentions. Almost always, he called attention to the victims on the wayside of history. Those dying under the rubble of bomb shelters in countries torn by armed conflicts, by wars. He called attention to migrant refugees who were floating aimlessly for many, many days in the open seas, inside dilapidated boats that are ready to sink anytime. People begging for a little bit of care, of mercy, and compassion. But you know, we have more reason to be worried when people just do not read anymore. When people just couldn't care less. That is something worse to worry about. When people would say, I will not waste my tears in that. When we see signs that our humanity has, as it were, been taken away from us. Pope Francis used to say, we can see more clearly only with the eyes washed by tears. Mas makakakita tayo ng malinaw mula sa mga natanggasan ng maraming luha. Jesus once told his disciples that it is when the bridegroom is taken away from them that the wedding guests will fast. Today, we weep and we mourn the passing of our beloved Jorge Mario Virgilio, who, in spite of his advanced age, was able to serve as successor of Peter, Bishop of Rome, and Supreme Pontiff, meaning builder of bridges. That is what a pontiff is, a bridge builder. No, the church is not a builder of walls. We are builders of bridges over troubled waters. Pope Francis taught us how to treat not just fellow Catholics, not just fellow Christians, not just fellow believers, but all human beings, and even every fellow creature in our common home as a fellow traveler in a common journey, as fellow pilgrims of hope. Like St. Peter and the other disciples who are led ashore after a night of fruitless fishing, only to encounter him already there waiting by the bonfire, inviting us to a meal already prepared by him. Only Jesus can turn our meals, denials, and betrayals into meals of forgiveness and healing. By giving us his own body and blood as food and drink, so that we could be transformed ourselves into members of his body, his risen body in the church. He offers his body wounded and scarred. He who offered his body wounded and scarred for broken people like you and me. He never meant the church to be an exclusive company of the righteous. He always meant the church to be a field hospital for the wounded and the sick. That's why we are never to look at the Eucharist as an exclusive meal for the holy, righteous, and deserving people. No, it is the body broken for broken people like you, like me. And the more broken you are, the more in need you are of the Eucharist. All that Jesus asks of us is one word of love for every word of denial. It is more than enough to restore us and to turn us into participants in his resurrected life and in his mission of redemption. Dear brothers and sisters, let us therefore allow our tears of sorrow to be transformed into tears of joy. Pope Francis has died with the Lord. And now he lives on with the Lord as part of the risen body of the Lord. And he's inviting us to allow the risen Lord to keep drawing near to us, to draw with us, to join our conversations, to break bread with us, and disappear. But I tell you, he disappears only so that he can reappear in you, in us, in his body, the church. And so, even in the midst of our grieving, we should not feel awkward to say what the past could be. Happy Easter to one another. Please greet each other again. Happy Easter to one another.